These are some of the voices of the Afghan people the president hoped to reach.
Stop this war. And if they really want to help our people, we don't need more soldiers.
امریکان خو دې په راغلي چې سوله ساتي موږ صلح دې ته ویل شي چې په کور باندې وردا ومنه وردا صلح دې ته ویل شي چې بېګناه ماشومان وژنه صلح دې ته ویل شي چې مثال د خبرې بس د خلک دې چې په جړه باندې پریدي او خلک دې په ویر باندې کی.
We have war since 30 years. Afghan ordinary people said it is enough.
Those clips were put together by the producers of the Brave New Films documentary, Rethink Afghanistan. The director of that production company, Robert Greenwald, joins me tonight. Robert, good to have you on. This is a real tough call by President Obama, but I think the American people, one thing that we have not gotten enough of is exposure to how the Afghan people feel about the United States committing 30,000 more and intensifying the efforts to knock down the Taliban and weed out any al-Qaeda that's there. How do you think the people feel about what's going on there?
Well, one thing that I learned in my trip to Afghanistan, Ed, and I think it's really important to keep in mind, this is a civil war in Afghanistan that's been going on for many years, and the U.S. is intervening on one side of the civil war, number one. Number two, for the months of deliberations at the White House, the so-called partnership that the president referred to, I don't believe there was one Afghan in those meetings who was not owned, bought, and sold by the United States. That's critically important that they be represented, that the voices of people, Afghan people who are not on our payroll, be heard by the president and his advisors. That's not happening.
Is there corruption so rampant in Afghanistan that it's a fool's errand, you think?
Well, it's a fool's errand to think that we're going to fix and make that government perfect. The corruption has demoralized the people, and that's why, you know, it breaks your heart when you're over there, Ed, and people say the Karzai government is as bad as the Taliban. You hear that over and over and over again from people. That's not a government that we're ever going to be able to bolster or prop up. That's why I say we need to understand that it's not black and white. We're intervening in a civil war over there.
So you don't think, based on your experience and your reporting over there and the Rethink Afghanistan documentary and the collection of information, that the United States is going to be able to go over there with 30,000 more troops, have a stronger presence, and solidify a government, give them an opportunity to operate, solidify certain areas, the most populated areas? That's what the president talked about tonight. You don't think that can be done?
Well, no, I don't think it can be done, number one. Number two, we're not asking those areas if they want to be solidified. How many representatives from those areas were at the meetings in Washington, D.C. for the last 2 months? How many polls have we done? How many people have we talked to in those areas? We haven't, number one. And third, most important perhaps, is we're hearing from veterans of Afghanistan over and over again, veterans for Rethinking Afghanistan, who say the morale on the ground is devastating. These are brave and heroic men and women, our soldiers, but it's not a war that can be won in any traditional sense. They're not even clear who the enemy is.
And the president said one of the goals with the Afghans have to bear the long-term responsibility in all of this, and they've got to stand up. That sounds so familiar to what we heard before. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. I know one thing, the Democratic caucus is divided on this. The blogosphere is going to be hot and heavy throughout all of this. And I want your opinion, before you leave tonight, Robert, did the president just put his presidency on the line tonight?
Well, it's hard to believe that it's not going to have a tragic effect, Ed. Adding in all these troops, the billions of dollars. I mean, just think about it. Spending $1 million on one troop for 1 year or getting a job. $1 million on one troop or getting your home back or getting health care or education. That's a very tough calculation from a political point of view. And then I think, sadly, and strategically, this is not the effective use of power. The United States has interests, we have security, but to invade a country and occupy it, to go after 100 or less al-Qaeda is not effective use of our forces.
Mr. Greenwald, good to have you on. Thanks for your time tonight. Appreciate it.